Hi, this is Brad Bordell. I'm the designer of Elemental, and what I'm going to do is try to show you a multi-part video demo of what Elemental is actually like to play. This has been minimally edited so you get as close to an experience as possible. So what I'm doing here is I'm designing up my character. When in Elemental, it's a strategy game where I'm literally in the game. So when I start out, I literally pick my sovereign or create my sovereign as I'm doing here, and I can spend points on uh, giving him equipment, updating his stats, changing how he looks, and as you see here, I'm going to go ahead and I don't like his hair, so I'm going to give him a different hairstyle. I can come down and change the way his face works. I'm going to make him a redhead, or maybe not. Make him a little blonder. Change his nose, change his eyes. So in this, it's a very personal experience. When people ask me how Elemental is different from other strategy games, the answer is Elemental is a strategy game that takes place in an RPG world where you are literally now the sovereign. You're like that D&D character you played before, except instead of going into dungeons and stuff as some sort of adventurer, you are now the sovereign. In fact, in this case, for fun, I'm going to pick my former profession before becoming king of my kingdom here as an adventurer, kind of an irony. So rather than setting dragons free accidentally, I'm now the one cleaning up after the mess of adventurers. So I still have 12 points left, so I'm going to go ahead and look for a few more points, give myself a little, I could give my character a little backstory, and I don't really, if I had more time, I would go into more depth there on the backstory, but it's completely optional. Now I think I'll give myself a couple more spell books and some more points towards my attributes. Like dexterity gives me more defense, strength gives me better attack, and that sort of thing. So then next here, I'm going to, now that I'm down to 0, I'm going to go next, and I can choose what my, design my character. If you ever played Magic the Gathering, here you can actually design a card for your character here, so that when he appears in the game, you can see him. So I've got a bunch of different ones here that I can choose from, different poses, different backgrounds. I think I'm going to go with the one where he's kneeling. I just have to find it. There he is. Then I want to give him a better background. I think a natural looking background. There we go. I can even give him a quote if I want. So then once I've done that, I choose which faction I want to belong to. Elemental comes with 10 different factions, or you can create your own from scratch, including what race and what everything else. So now we're going to get into the game, and from there, what I'm going to show you is how the game starts and a little rundown. There's a misplaced purse. I like lots of goodies. There we go. I just saw someone show up down here. So here's a pouch. And oh, this is nice. This Band of Fortitude. So I can now click on my guy, go to equipment, and give myself Band of Fortitude. And now my max hit points just went up to 42. Now, one of the things we really want to do with this game is that, even though it's a strategy game and it has a great deal of depth, we didn't want to make the game feel like it's super hard to play. It's actually very straightforward. When I click on my guy, I see what actions he has, what items he has, and what spells he can cast. For this demo, I went ahead and enabled a bunch of spells. And then over here are his stats, his hit points, attack, defense, his essence, since he's my sovereign, which I'll talk about in a little minute, and how many moves he has. So it's very, not a lot to it. For my kingdom, I can come over here, and these are the resources I have at the top, 500 gold. And then I have my population, what turn it is, show the mini-map for the world, show terrain window, which tells me how good each tile I'm mousing over is, if there's any bonuses. And then the last one is the Hegemon, which is the built-in encyclopedia that will give you everything you wanted to know about the world and then some. And pretty much everything in this game has a Hegemon entry. Now, the Hegemon was written by writers at Random House, who we've teamed up with to make sure that the lore of the game is really interesting and inspiring. So, for example, I can click on Rosnero down here, click on him, and I get his Hegemon entry. Notable people. So these guys aren't randomly generated, there's just a lot of them. And if I get him on my side, he'll generate 2 spell points per turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this guy, this merchant, because he'll start producing gold. Now, normally in a typical strategy game, you can't do anything until you build a city. And in Elemental, building a city is something that certainly has its advantages, but another advantage is just going out and trying to acquire different resources, different items, and recruiting these guys before they get killed by monsters or recruited by other players. Because some of these guys, while this guy's a merchant, he could just as easily have been one of those adventurers going into dungeons and getting himself killed. So I'm going to click on him, and here's his history. He was an accountant to a wealthy merchant before the Cataclysm, or well, during the, and most of these people right now are just living hand to mouth. So I'm going to recruit him, and he'll join me if I pay him 230 gold, which that sounds good because I will want that money. So now I'm starting to generate revenue even now. I'm going to hit the turn button. So turn 2. So I am going to go ahead and start a city because I happen to be, because this is the demo map, in a perfect spot. Because right here there's fertile land, and over here is an iron ore deposit, which later on will let me, once I get mining, will let me start getting metal resources. And I'm going to have him go ahead and start auto-exploring. Whoops, not that one.
Yes.
Now right now, since the world's kind of crummy, when I want to, one of the things in this game is that it's not about having people crank out babies, and that's not really how your population goes. Instead, they're attracted to the prestige of your cities because they're living out kind of the ruined wastelands. What just occurred here is that I had Alexander, my sovereign, sacrifice one of his essence to restore life to the land here, and that's why it looks nicer. Now my population is now 2. Him, Dawsid over here that I recruited, and this guy. Whoops, there he is. I can click on my city, and I have some money. And as you can see, there's a lot of things here grayed out. I can't build them because they require either more gold than I have, or they require materials that I don't have, like this study. This study will provide knowledge, research points, which I use to research technologies, but it requires 2 materials. So my only resource is gold right now. But over here, this workshop will provide 1 material per turn. So I'm going to go ahead and build that. So I'm going to place that, and people will start being attracted to my city as they see it's an up-and-coming concern. So that's essentially how the beginning of the game works out. Now, let me go ahead. I better not, right now I don't have any. I'm going to go ahead and hit some turns so you can see what some of the things that go on. Normally I would play each turn to its fullest, but when I hit the turn button here, you'll see that my city is progressing a little bit. So that got built.